Hi everyone, I'm out in the Focus pretty obviously because it's my only car now, but what we're going to do today, we're going to have a drive like a driving instructor video, and honestly it's something that I've been meaning to do for a long time. When you've got some poor conditions, not solely poor conditions, but when you've got poor conditions like we've got today, and it's been quite cold over the last number of days, it's really important that you are subtle and gentle and smooth with your feet. And this is what we're going to try and demonstrate today. I've got the foot cam working and we're just relying on the dash cam to shoot the interior bit. So I haven't got a camera set up today, we've just got the microphone, but we have got the foot cam. And we're going to be looking at how I use my feet and how much I change what I do to what we're seeing. This is one of the most important things that students need to get better with when they're passing a test and learning to drive. But it's also something that I find a lot of normal drivers do wrong. They drive their car a little bit like a dodgem car. They just drive at the same speed everywhere and just steer around stuff. So I'm going to try and show everyone how I adjust my speed. So we've got a little bit of warmth with the car. Yes, my heated steering wheel's on, my heated seats on as well, and the car's just gone through its warm-up cycle, so we're going to get going. Now, one thing I do want to explain is the importance of keeping your heel on the floor when you're operating the brake and the accelerator. I'm going to go through that shortly. You just have to excuse my jumpy, jittery car when it's cold. It's not smooth running at all once it's cold. It takes a few minutes to actually get going. But what I want you to do, hopefully you're not doing this while you're driving. I don't think you should be watching this video when you're driving, so this should be pretty safe. Now, what I want you to do is, if you're watching this on your phone, I want you to hold your phone out in front of you if you're sat on a chair and try and lift both feet off the ground. Have you just done it? What happens to the tension of your hands? Well, honestly, you grip a little tighter. So think of that in relation to your pedals. Your clutch pedal, it's impossible to use with your heel on the ground at all times. Just not operated like that. You press partly with your leg and also extend your ankle and get your ankle involved. But that also means that at one point, definitely one of your legs is going to be in the air when you're operating the pedals. Now I'm going to show you how important it is to try and keep your heel on the floor when you're operating the accelerator and the brake pedal. Do the same thing with your phone, or even if you're sat at a desk watching this on a computer, you can do the same things again. Just hold your hands out in front of you, and this time keep your right heel or right foot on the floor and see whether you can lift your left leg up. Did your hands grip in the same manner? Well, they won't have done, and that's because all of this pressure, if you like, is taken into your foot on the floor. So your feet operating a vehicle, it's really important to have them in the correct spot, and this then allows the subtlety of the movement that I'm going to be trying to demonstrate today. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. So the people who lift their legs off the pedal to go for the brake and back and forth, there is going to be a certain time where both feet are off the floor and you've got to hang on with your hands. So that's the first thing. You have to have your feet in the correct position to do it properly. Okay. Now, subtlety. It's really important to have your feet back on the pedals and have your toes operating the pedals. Just think, if you're operating the pedal and your foot's all the way up, because they pivot from the top, A small press of the pedal with your foot higher up equates to a larger movement of the pedal than if your foot was a little bit lower down. So your feet have to be in the correct spot. One thing that I've found, I can't show you here because haven't got a camera of my knees, but it's really important, especially for the ladies who drive, to actually move their knees to the side of the steering column a little bit more. If you sit with your knees too straight, yes, it's going to interrupt what you're doing, the steering column, but it also affects massively how you operate your feet. So drop your knee to the side, ankle on the floor, and it should be able to pivot between the pedals. Now, a nice test of this is if you can cover the brake, cover the gas, cover the brake, cover the gas, cover the brake, cover the gas, super quick without moving your heel. That heel position might have to be tweaked for people of different size shoes. However, if you look at my size 9s compared to the pedals, there's no in the world anyone's feet are smaller than that gap below the pedal to the mat on the floor. So there should be a little spot that you can get to where you can pivot your foot. Okay, now we've covered all that, and I think you'll understand why I wanted to have a little talk about that before we drove, was because we're going to be looking at the subtlety. Now, the first thing there with the guy crossing at the crossing, this is another thing that people do really struggle with. And it's the fact that you don't have to press a pedal. I'm just going to turn my heated seat down, get rid of my steering wheel heating. That's warm enough. I'm just going to turn my temperature down a little bit as well. So yes, people think that they have to be pressing a pedal, and it's absolutely not. It's not the case. Here, coming in, this one's a little close behind, so I'm going to adjust what I'm doing. I'm going to slow down a little earlier just to manage this vehicle behind. Lightest little cover on my brake. I am gearing down into second, clutch is engaged, and I've just slowed until I realised the risk had dropped. Could have sounded my horn there as well, but as long as you're slow enough, it's not a problem. Now, gentle early brake, and I'm doing my braking back of the junction and then lessening my pressure just slightly. I call it feathering. So I'll feather off the brake pedal to allow the car effectively to roll forward. But the key is how I did my braking. I'm just off everything for the Mini. The Mini's coming round, so I just made certain that I was arriving at a different time to that narrowing than the Mini. That should be the Mini's job to do that, but it didn't do that, so therefore I'm going to take that, I'm going to do it. So yeah, going back to the junction and sort of what we've just talked about the Mini, it's really important to change where you do your braking to make certain that you're not arriving at the same point at the same time. And by slowing earlier, it's now given me more options to deal with this situation. So again there, all I needed to do, you would have seen with the foot cam, I didn't even feel the need to cover my brake. Now, it's all down to risk. As risk increases, we should be slowing down. So here, I'm slowing down, getting the white one past, and then I'm able to flow through. And people don't get that. They drive at a speed of the speed limit until they come up to something, and then they jump straight onto the brake pedal. It's not best for flow, it's not best for fuel economy. Honestly as well, when learners do that, the examiner surely thinks, gee, this one's not very good. So it's all about, like I said, adjusting speed. This scenario, I'm just slightly adjusting, gentle little lesson of me accelerator. It's just giving me time to make an assessment on what to do. I'm going to help the white one out and come back over here so we can both flow, and it's absolutely perfect. I've been able to just glide through without interruption. So the braking again, lightest little pressure, I'm increasing and then lessening. And that again gives me options to be able to just keep it going and just keep it moving as the traffic moves up. So it's nice and gentle, nice and subtle. All right, cool. If you think about it, the operation of a car is actually quite simple when you first when you first start driving, it can be a little awkward, but once you can move off, once you can stop, once you can change gear and steer and brake, it's not actually that complicated. But the thing that causes problems is people don't obviously operate their car to suit the conditions around them. People are all too impatient, they're always in a rush, and they get into a routine way of doing things. I had a conversation even with an instructor who I did a lesson observation this morning with, and we were talking about mirrors. Their student was just sort of like in that mindset of going, mirror, mirror, signal, mirror, mirror, signal. Down, should have been checking that way. You get where I'm coming from. But they were in that habit of doing that. And the discussion that I had with the instructor is about their part in that process. The instructors should be talking about not just which mirrors. Some of you already will know that that's a pet hate of mine. Which mirrors gets a student to think about nothing. But what you've got to be doing is actually looking at what's there and also teaching your students to change what they're doing to suit what they see. And this was the bit that was a little bit of a wake-up call to the instructor, in my opinion. I think it hadn't really crossed their mind too much. It's sort of like a box ticked. I'm checking, that's it, done. But if someone's close to you, when would you put your signal on? Earlier. If you were going to slow down, when would you do your slow down? Earlier. If weather conditions are poor and you see someone catching you up as you start to brake, you need to get braking as early as you possibly can, because if people are catching you under braking, that's dangerous. So here, what am I doing with my speed? I'm just checking and slightly reducing at risk. That one's dealt with. I'm going to go straight on, no problems. It's still a little bit of a risk. I'm through, little check. And honestly, I'm going to go up to third, but then just be super subtle because there's still risk and danger here. The black Mercedes is catching me quite quick, so I have backed off and I'm just easier then to deal with if anyone stepped out. People don't get that as well. They always, I always hear people comment that, oh, we can't slow suddenly in case someone's behind. That means you haven't anticipated it and you've just careered into it a little bit quick in the first place then. It's not that complicated. If someone's close to you, you have to deal with things in a smoother, earlier manner to effectively keep them safe and keep yourself safe. People don't get it, but it's how it is. So I'm going to do a right turn. I'm just reducing my gas even for that one. But it was really important there with that black car that I didn't reduce too much to then confuse them that I was letting them go. So it's managing where you're doing your slow. I'm taking my time getting here even now. Nice and slow, nice and early, and then relaxing my brake just to creep up and just to get to the line. If people brake in a routine manner, that little section that we've just had to deal with there, slightly uphill, it will catch people out. People don't change how they go about doing things. It's just like that routine way of doing things. And if we think about how fluid and changeable the roads are, you can see why it catches people out. So change what you're doing. Okay, we're going to be looking at the change of rate of acceleration as well. For now, I'm planning the furthest car I can see, clutches back down. Now it's the Fiesta, which is the last one, and I'm creeping early so I'm able to clear. No problems. I'm going to go straight to the left lane and then using my acceleration to suit. But again, I don't want to career in towards these lights. I'm going to do my utmost, so I'm utmost to keep it moving. So I'm just checking, reducing. Now I'm going back on it a little bit again, but there's still a risk as I arrive at the light. So there's no one close, but I'm going to reduce my speed. So I'm ready for the lights, I'm ready for the lights, I'm ready for the lights. We're through, no other risk, just watching the silver one there. And now I'm still going to do the same thing. No one's close behind, I'm reducing, no still, don't need to cover. I could easily deal with that, and away we go. So that adjusting what you were doing coming in towards each set of lights is different each time you get there. Here, still no one directly behind, braking early. And again, I'm going to slow early and see whether I can stop much later than this vehicle next to me. Less brake. When's that one stopped? It stopped, and I stop after them, even though they were behind me. A little game you can play, because it does actually encourage you to do the braking in the correct manner. Lights changing to the side. Traffic not coming through. I am getting prepped. I don't think we're going to be long. No one around. Now, rate of acceleration. I'm just going to go beyond the white one, but I've still got a little bit of caution with this van. White one's coming past now. It's moving over to lane 3 to go up the M58. We're all good. All right. So even there has to be, well, there should be an adjustment of your speed to move away from lights, but people don't do it. I'm keeping up with the flow. I've got an escape route. This one's moving. I'm just watching. Reduced again, even though I was pretty certain it was all right. So here, no one's close. Reducing, being ready to start. Ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm through. That one okay? Do I need any gas to get me to the lights? No. So I'm just going to come off. And again, I've been able to keep going at a higher speed because I actually reduced early. And it's so important. Still a little bit of a risk, so I've just slightly backed off. No problems. So going back to what I was saying about the braking early, the benefits of it are huge. It saves fuel. This Focus isn't the best on fuel. It's not as good as my Golf. However, on a decent run, you can still get it well into the 30s. It's not a problem. So that's the first thing. But if you think of the van behind, let's just get my windscreen wiper working at the back. If I take more time now and slow more, I'm slowing them more, and then I'm able to flow away from them at the end. Is this Vauxhall to the right an issue? Shouldn't be, but it just delayed again my acceleration. All right, no worries. So smoothness of the feet. It is subtle movements. It's not on or off or brake or not. It's literally subtle little adjustments each time that you need to do something. So what's happening to risk now as we're coming up to these lights? It's increasing. So we're downhill. Reduce your speed, adjust, be ready for them. Don't try and make them. We're through, continue again. Why is the one in front braking? I just think it's too close to that one. The second one in front. So I'm slowing because I was catching them, making sure I've then corrected that as soon as I possibly can. And again, I've been able to flow. I'm already thinking about the next set of lights. I'm going to go up into 5th. I am going to turn left at these lights. Van's in lane 2. Because the lights have just changed onto green, I'm going to keep it going. But again, I'm going to try and back off early and slow as early as I can and keep the momentum going with these cars in front of me. You don't want to arrive in a heap. Smoothness transfers into safety as well. All right, so forward planning enables you to do this. I'm off everything again. Haven't had to jump on my brakes. I might not even have to use my brakes here. I was able to do it just with anticipation. Just check the blue one out. They decided to come anyway. That's all right. I can sort of see why they did with the other one coming the other way. It's not something I would have done, but that one already, warning sign, a little impatient. Watch what they do coming into these lights. I'm going to check, but they're catching me. They're catching me. They're catching me. I can stop, lessen, and then look. Even there, I was able, with the braking that I did, by braking earlier and then lessening towards the end, I was actually able to come to a stop after the vehicle behind. And that's much safer. Remember, it's not the case of saying they're really close, I can't slam on. You're not slamming on, you're just trying to control them early and then roll away from them. We've already discussed it's better for fuel. it's safer, it's smoother, it's more car sympathetic, and honestly, it paints such a lovely picture to your examiner if you're in that situation to have a go at your test. Practice it. But you can't do it without some forward planning. You've got to plan nice and early. Let's have a little look at this roundabout. I'm going to be turning left. Looking early, looks clear, but again, I'm going to do a little bit of braking here, so I'm at the correct speed to deal with the roundabout, and then I get more time to actually look as well and flow through. Nice and smooth and balanced going around the corner. We don't want to give it too harsh a press, especially in a car with a little bit more horsepower than the probably average car. It's not so bad because it's front wheel drive, it's not going to kick out or anything like that, but that smooth, gentle application of the gas is super important because then the car is balanced. I'm using lane 2 at the lights because at the second set I am going to turn right, but again, I'm slowing and I'm fixing things before I get here. Balanced. Tiny little touch of gas to drive round the corner, and then again I'm doing my utmost to keep things moving. So I'm going to take the mick with this slowing down. No one's close behind. I'm not going to confuse anyone. That can also be the case. Did I stop after this one? Yes. I get more time to look at the lights now, and even now I know that I'm going to be taking this junction after the Audi. Again, keeping it moving with this smoothness of the feet. But do you see how by slowing early creates effectively more time for you? People go the other way. They arrive into something in a heap and then they struggle collecting all this information. Make things easier. I've already worked out that I won't need to slow down to deal with this first fan, and I'm umming and ahhing at the minute with this one. I don't think so, so I'm going to slow more. I'm going to do my utmost to keep it moving again. You are okay, my mate. And then again, I've kept it moving. What did that subtlety and smoothness of my feet allowing me to keep moving say to the van that's following us as well? I added to that communication about me continuing to move, I added to that my positioning, which was out near the centre line. There was nothing coming the other way that was going to have to get round some parked obstruction, so I could use all the space in my lane. So that combined with me keeping it moving, there's no in the world the van was confused that I was parked or I was stopping, and it's less likely to encourage them to overtake and cause you problems. Mondeo to the right, van to the left, covering my brake. That was a little bit higher, but it was still all well under control. So the different levels of risk really make you operate your feet in different manners. I'm going to be checking no one's overtaking me. Squeeze smoothly. Skip 5th gear, straight to 6. Not a problem. 40 miles an hour, we're all good. Safe to do it even though the weather conditions are poor, but we've got a 30 limit coming up again. One of the most pointless speed limit changes I know of. So again, I've backed off early. Do I need the brake? Not really, because I've controlled this van's slow down just by my use of the gas, or lack of. Some people still don't realise as well that if you come off the accelerator in modern cars, if your engine revs are above idle, and if you're slowing from maybe 2,000 revs down to idle speed, your car uses no fuel whatsoever, absolutely zero. Mini problem, happy they've changed, and again, because I've slowed early, I'm not in that situation dealing with something and reacting to something at the last moment. I've planned it before, it's quite simple. So, we're all good. The next thing is obviously the maintenance vehicle with the flashing lights. Safe and necessary to use the hatch markings, not a problem then. I just kept my position to the left a little longer though, and that was just for best view. Already I'm planning what's happening on Brooms Cross Road, the major road up ahead. I am going to accelerate a little, but not too much. I don't honestly think it's worth it. And now again, I'm doing my utmost to keep things moving. Vans got fed up with doing the speed limit. But again, if you're able to take more time getting to the lights, you're able to anticipate a little bit more, and honestly, higher likelihood of keeping things moving. So, what's going on with the traffic? I'm watching the body language of the van to my right. They are moving. So, I'm not going to race, but I'm just ready to deal with what's going on. He's a little slow, so I'm going to go and get out of there, do it smoothly, do it probably, the best word is progressive. Sometimes people are going to get triggered by that. If they are going to look like they're going to get triggered by you adjusting your acceleration there just effectively to make things flow a little bit better, you don't want to be too near that vehicle. I'd rather have that van driver in front of me than behind if that was the case. He didn't. I don't know. It's a they. They didn't, so therefore I'm all right with doing that. But if you do get triggered by someone out accelerating you, it's not always like you probably perceive. You probably perceive that it's a race and it's a challenge who's going to get there first. It's not by everyone. It is by some, but it's not by everyone. If you're doing things correctly, you should be adjusting how you accelerate to, again, keep the traffic flowing. Now, the rate of acceleration has got to be changed here. I've got to be smooth with my feet because the gap with myself and the box fan in front needs to be grown, especially because this one behind is a little close. If the van driver behind who was in lane 2 was getting a little bit impatient, if you think if they had have been doing 35 miles an hour on the previous road, which was 30 for a section, I know it changed, would it have got them through the lights any quicker? And the answer is no. I'm making a little bit of progress here. I am heading round to the left, but again, just making certain that my slow is here. Gears here. I'm through. I'm following the road around to the right-hand side. So again, I'm just being ready for the lights. I'm not trying to make them. I'm now just reducing. I'm ready. I'm ready. We are through. And the van driver is a little close behind, but that's good because I can give you an example how you manage people like that. Like I said, is the van driver behind a little triggered because I'm sticking to the speed limit? Probably. But again, going back to the point that I've just talked about, would it have got them through the lights any quicker? And the answer's no, it wouldn't have. Nice and subtle, nice and gentle. Filter arrow is on the next set of lights. What I was saying is if the filter arrow is on, it's highly likely that it could change. Again, fan's close, so I'm just making sure I'm slowing them down early. Is there a chance of me keeping this on the move? There is. There's a slim chance, but there is a chance. Gap in the traffic, lights are changing, first gear. I'm going to creep early, but not quick, and then I can change my rate of acceleration. And that's the other thing as well, that if you slow early and get your speed sorted early, you'll be able to keep things moving easy and be able to creep sooner, which again gives you a higher observation time, if you like. So no problem. Over the bridge, van's a little close again. I'm just slightly reducing, just subtly. And when I say slightly reducing, it's probably only a mile an hour or two. Again, controlling this guy, especially downhill now. He's turning right, that's fine. There's no 2 lanes here, so I'm just going to hold my position. He can't go through anyway. Type of crossing, it's a Pelican, so yeah, flashing ambers next, and I'm able to keep things moving. Even if I'd raced through there, would he have got through any quicker? No. Doing my utmost to help the white Audi driver out. Next set of lights, these could change also. So I'm fine for now, but now I'm catching and coming into risk. Yeah, you understand where I'm coming from, hopefully, that I instantly changed my feet. So, to all the people who say, if someone pulls out or a set of lights change, I can't suddenly brake. You shouldn't really be in that situation anyway, if you're doing things as you probably should. If you're having to do anything suddenly, I'm not saying all the time, but if you're having to do things suddenly, most of the time it's because you haven't thought about it and adjusted coming up. So, has there been any scenarios or situations where I've had to be harsh with my feet? No. When people move the whole leg, it then becomes harsh. They don't have these subtle, small adjustments, and they get themselves into problems. Okay. Remember, always have your foot in a spot so you can go cover, back, cover, back. It's a nice way of checking it, remember. And go back to what I said at the beginning. If you're having to move your whole leg, you're then going to be gripping with your hands, and honestly, that does absolutely nothing for your observations. It does nothing for your smoothness with your steering. Doing my utmost to, again, keep it moving. This time I'm able to go in 2 in second gear, because I slowed early. Again, I'm able to keep things at a higher average speed, and that's how you're going to save your fuel. Conditions like this, we have mentioned them obviously today, but it is super important to be super smooth. It's just wet today. It's 5 degrees, so it's unlikely to be obviously icy, but we've had some poor conditions the few days leading up to me filming this video, although it's probably not going to be out until probably somewhere around Christmas time, I would have thought. Today we are the 4th of December, so you can see how early sometimes I film my uploads, usually running probably 6 weeks ahead, but I've been away for a couple of weeks and done a couple of things, so I'm playing catch up again. So, downhill, how's the vehicle behind? It's less of an issue, so not a problem. We can, I wouldn't say please ourselves with the braking. I'm still going to come off early, using no fuel, signal as early as we can, brake as early as we can, and again, I'm slow and early and get down to a speed which is probably going to be able to deal with the roundabout, and then I get more options now. I can go. If you steam into that roundabout, you've got all your observations at the last minute. You're taking a bigger risk. Slow and early allows me to work out whether there's room past the keep clear or not as well. So situations like that, people will get caught out by slowing too late and not being as subtle with the feet as they should. Yeah, my camera's still working on my feet, that's good. And now the vehicle behind has joined the queue. I'm now going to put my park and brake on. A lot of you in the comments will know why, but if you don't know why, when you use auto hold, I'm just moving early, just so I manage these people around. There was a couple waiting to pull out. They couldn't move because of the oncoming vehicles. Being ready, being ready, being ready. Can't see behind these. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. There you go. How many people would just be steaming through in that situation? And even the horn gets to be, I'm going to hold back and let these people go. I'm just going to command this lane also. You're okay. Just watching, just keep an eye out for them. You're okay. You're quite all right. Now, I'll talk about them in a sec, but let's go back to the traffic lights where I had priority, don't forget. People, again, don't change their speed to suit risk. What did I say? Couldn't see, and then someone was appeared. I don't know whether you were able to pick up on camera a little bit sooner than my eyesight, but don't forget, the camera's slightly to the left of me and further up, so you might have been able to see those vehicles that were potentially crossing my path before I could, but I couldn't, so therefore I'm reducing until I'm happy with the risk. Your feet should be adjusted in relation to risk. Risk goes up, your speed should come down, and vice versa. So Just going back to talking about those two people who were crossing, I'm sure you understand why I took a position slightly to the right hand side. I was just watching my right hand mirror to make sure there was no one coming down that side as well. Did I keep things moving also? Yes, I did. So there was no issues with that. I'm just going to stay here. Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm not changing my mind. Going back, and I'm still able to brake in a smooth manner. Okay, we're just going to have a look at this one to our right as well. They've made a decision to stay in lane 2, which is totally fine. Again, I'm going to assess as I move off what their acceleration's like and change my acceleration to suit rather than just going at the pace that I want to go. What are they like? A little bit quicker than the van before, so that's totally fine. No issues. So going back to the people, what did I do to manage that situation? Yes, I moved away, slowed down early. Did I flash them? No. Did I beckon them? No. How did I do it? I did it with my control of my car. You talk to people, or you should be talking to people with what you're doing with your car. Even the creeping that I've mentioned, if you creep too early, especially from a side road, that can tell a different and wrong story to the people on the main road. What am I saying to the black one? Saying, go on mate, you're all right, I've got you covered. It's risk like behind, not bad whatsoever. Totally okay with the taxi. Most people in this scenario, they don't come back into the left-hand side. I haven't got my roof box on today, so we're not affected by L-plate syndrome. But again, I'm just going to change what I do to suit. Taxis aren't the quickest vehicles away. I haven't set it in my mind yet, and this is a mistake that people do make. They set it in the mind that they are going to be the first ones away. I'm getting prepped as soon as the lights change on the far side. I'm not going before it gets to on green, but I'm going to creep. And what am I going to do? I'm going to hold back. But notice how I changed my rate of acceleration to keep up with the taxi, and now I'm growing it. And that was to manage this vehicle behind me also. How many people would be thinking of doing something similar? Or would you just move away in the way that you want to move? Off. Free driving at the minute. Back on again, didn't even have to change gear. I'm going to turn left. BMW's probably going to cut in front of me. No, it's not. It's turning right, but that's okay. Even with that slow there, I slowed a little earlier just because the one was catching me behind. So therefore, if the lights do change, I then get to just relax my pressure rather than increasing. If you're increasing, you're more likely to get hit. If you think about it, it makes total sense. How many vehicles get hit from behind when they're moving compared to suddenly stopping? So to all you road users, and it's not just motorists either, to all you cyclists who think suddenly braking, you're worried about vehicles behind. That means you ain't good enough managing risk and altering your speed to suit. That's it. That's how it works. So, risk, it is slightly increasing, so I'm just being careful of the one behind them through, and then I'm changing how I'm working my feet. Yeah, my camera's still working, that's all good. We've got a couple of roundabouts that I'm going to do a bit further up. I think roundabouts are a good way to show how you should be subtle and changeable with your speed, and hopefully I've demonstrated today when you should be changeable with your speed. Again, because this one was close, I've slowed early and I've rolled away. Is the bus going to move? Yeah, but I'm using the hill hold, swapping feet, creeping again. I'm going to turn left. Notice the space I'm creating to try and give myself a chance to keep moving. White van's the final one. Red one is going in that road. I'm using the space, but again, not too quick, because I didn't want to put off the white van from coming back in, even though they did use lane 2. So change how you accelerate, not just the braking. growing my gap. It's one of my phrases I'm sure you've all heard before. What does that do to vision? Obviously increases it. You get a better view, but you also get more time to do your slowing. That also then has a positive effect if someone's following you behind. Just going to do a right turn at this roundabout coming up. So remember, if someone's following you close, you need to increase the gap between yourself and the ones in front. Some people don't understand that. Slow and early allows me to make an easier decision. Is the room past the crossing? There is now. The van's moved on. Can I flow? Yes, I can. And I'm just aware of this one to my left-hand side. I've just positioned myself in this little space. I think they were a little triggered. They thought I was going ahead and were racing them. It's amazing how many people are like that. Acceleration on the straighter part rather than the bend. That's with all vehicles. Doesn't matter, even if it's four-wheel drive, you'll still get maybe a back end kicking out or a little bit of understeer in these wet conditions. So always try and be smooth with your braking and your accelerating, but do it on the straight part if at all possible. So we've got a pedestrian crossing up ahead, we've got a zebra. Pedestrian to the left was fine. Even though he stood on the road, he was showing me everything that he was going to wait. Crossing, we good? Yes, we are. Bus up ahead, I'm planning past it. There are vehicles parked, and I'm just gonna control the Mercedes. If I'd have held back too early there, that Mercedes may have come out. And it didn't happen in the end, but I was just a little wary of this van, this white van, whether it was going to push through. In the end, it was all good. Look inside the bus. There's a red stopping light right at the front in the middle. Hopefully you can pick up on that. That means what? It means that the next bus stop, someone's already pressed the button, this bus is going to be stopping. So I backed off, covering the brake, can't see, downhill, in the wet, could be people about and there's plenty. I'm not even going to go past this bus. Look at the lights. You can see through the trees there that it's all queuing. There's no one behind me, not an issue. Just put it back into gear in case the one behind was going to maybe start to go, because I was ready to communicate, not to just barge and cut in front, but if they were showing me any signs that they were going to start to move, I would have had a little creep myself. It's sort of like now, if there's a car from a side road, I can communicate and manage what's going on with that vehicle before it pulls out. It's awkward, this little section of road. We've seen this on the channel a few times before, where there's a yellow box and you can't see this end of the box. So it's impossible to find out whether it's actually going to be clear before you enter it. So you just do your best and look for flow. Lights could change. This one's dropped away a little. Again, I just created a little bit more time just to make certain they had enough space, and I did. I'm not going past the bus. The bus driver should have kept a little bit more to the left-hand side. All I've done, I've just used the space the other side rather than just following the bus. So what the bus driver should have done there, I think he was maybe, I wouldn't use the word triggered, he was just being positive so people don't go past him, but he also caused a little problem with the flow of what I was trying to do. I was just trying to use the extra road space to make sure I could clear and get beyond and then continue. If you're ever unsure of that situation, just hold back. Yes, we were able to clear, but again, create the time. That's fine behind. Less brake, feather, gentle stop. Makes your journey a lot nicer as well, so you're not suddenly stopping like that all the time. Do I need to manage these two young ladies to the left? If you rush away at one pace, you'll get yourself into problems. If you creep, you can then again create more time. I'm going to use lane 2 because the bus is likely to be parked and I can't see the stopping sign in the bus. The side windows are a little bit dirty for that. But again, I'm taking more time getting there. Who's at the bus stop? Is there anyone? Yes, there are people at the bus stop, so it's likely to stop. Nothing moving from the side, so I'm getting into first. Change my rate of acceleration, not trying to scare the people, but I do now want to make sure that I'm past the bus. So I'm not racing. All I'm doing, I'm just trying to enable flow all the time. So let's have a look to see what I'm doing here. No one's close, holding back. What position's the bus in? Is that back end of the bus gonna swing a little wide when it turns, or is there enough room? Simple choice. If you're ever questioning things like that, what do? You hold back. It's that simple. Cars generally don't swing out much because they're tapered at the back, but as we can see from the bus, it's not tapered, it's just rounded off. So therefore, that section behind the back wheel will move my direction. Not much in that vehicle, but let's have a look. In the end, it was okay. It wasn't a big deal, it wasn't a big problem, but something to think about. If you're ever in doubt, means no, remember. Yeah, reduced, well, the risk was there with the Amazon delivery driver, and then back on with it again. Now then we're thinking up at the next set of lights. Okay, I'm nearly back home. What's your thoughts on that little drive? Do you move your foot in that way that I've talked about? Do you move your whole leg? If you do, think about the analogy that I gave you, or even if I got you holding your phone while you were watching this video and lifting your feet off the floor. Think about the reaction with that, on what happened. Think on how that equates to your driving. If you're tense and your feet are in the air, you're not going to be able to move them with the subtlety and the gentleness that I've demonstrated hopefully today. Keeping things moving, it's a much safer way of doing things. It reduces risk. It's a bit of a show-off as well to people who you're travelling with. They'll have a nicer, more comfortable journey. Your examiner's going to be well impressed. It's car sympathetic, and even if it's not a car that you're operating, even a bike, if you're arriving into a problem and you have to react with the brake, most of the time, I'm going to add, if you have to react with the brake pedal, honestly, you haven't anticipated. I waited till risk decreased and then I was happy to go again. So hopefully that's been of use. Please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, whether there's any little point that you picked up. Is there anything that you've realised from that video that you didn't do, like I'm trying to explain? If there isn't, top marks. You must be doing a good job. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.